your full name, please?
Edward Thomas Abajian.
And this interview is taking place where?
Bishop Kelly High School.
Okay. And
David Skinner's history class.
Thank you. And what are you here for? What's the purpose?
I come here every year to entertain Mr. Skinner's classes about Vietnam.
Where and when were you born?
I was born in Salina, Kansas, Smoky Hill Air Force Base, August 24th, 1949.
And what are the names of your parents?
Sam and Marge Abajian.
And your siblings, what are their names and genders?
I have 6 brothers and 2 sisters, starting with John, Fred, myself, Roxanne, Suzanne, David, Stevie, and Ricky.
Any of them in the military?
No.
What were you doing before you entered the service?
I was living in Seattle, Washington.
In what branch of the military did you serve?
U.S. Army.
Did you enlist or were you drafted?
Drafted.
What happened when you departed for training camp during the early days of training?
I was scheduled to go to Fort Lewis, Washington, outside of Tacoma, and I was a platoon guide for the first 8 weeks of my training.
Do you recall the names of any of your instructors?
No.
Did you receive any specialized training?
Just combat.
Where did you serve?
South Vietnam.
And what were the dates of your service?
March 12th, 1970 through May 3rd, 4th of 1971.
And what part of Vietnam did you basically operate in?
Central Highlands.
Did you see combat?
Yes.
If you were on the front lines, what were your duties?
I served as a point man. I did go to Bishop Kelly, 1967. Moved to Seattle in 1969, the summer of. Got drafted that summer. And like some other people, I tried a couple things I wasn't sure what was going on. Coming from Boise, Idaho, Vietnam really wasn't an issue. It's kind of over there, you don't know what it is. But I ended up going in. And I actually was very lucky. I actually had a good time. They do shave your head. And they put you through some pretty grueling stuff. If you think you're in pretty good shape, you might want to rethink that. But for some reason, on my 3rd day there, this guy puts me in charge of 55 kids. I say kids because they're mostly my age. And I was 19 at the time. And I never got to know why he did that. But it was good for me because I didn't do any KP. I didn't do forced marches. I had my own room. I had 4 guys that were my lieutenants, so to speak. I had guys that I would give favors to, and they would take care of cleaning my bed up and making it and doing the boot. It was a great gig. The second 8-week period is 4 months that you do this. And the first is just to re-indoctrinate you to their way of life. And the second is where you go in and you're given an MOS, which is a job function. And I don't know why, but mine was 11 Bravo, which is combat. And I didn't want to be in charge of anybody again, but they made me the cadence caller for the brigade, actually, which is, you have a platoon, which is a company. 4 platoons make a company. 4 companies make a battalion. 4 battalions make a brigade. So I was the guy that was out there, if you ever watch war movies, and go left, right, dun, 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 dun. And that's what I did all day. I would keep these guys in step, and we would do these marches. Never slept outside. I slept in a train car with all the big boys. They're sloshing down C rations. I'm eating Chinese food. It was just a great gig. Towards the end of my second cycle, the 8 weeks, we were supposed to go to Germany. And then they called us in at the very end and said, listen, we're giving you guys a week off, go home, be with your families. You're all going to Vietnam. So no reason was given. So came back to Boise. I'm one of 8 kids. I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters. So I waited till the end. Told my mother. I said, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to Vietnam, right?" So fast forward on the second week of March. I ended up landing in Vietnam the 12th of March, 1970. Crazy hot. You have no idea. You can't wrap your head around anything. I had no idea what I was doing there. It was just, all I knew it was hot, and there was just little people running around. I got assigned to a group of guys that were all from the South. It was the 1st and the 14th Golden Dragons. Everybody has a nickname, right? And what I did was I operated out of the Central Highlands, Pleiku on K, and we were assigned to search and destroy. So that means we'd go out every day and look for them and destroy what we could find, whether it be a human, a village, whatever it was. That was our primary purpose in life. There was different ways to do this. You have a rear base camp, which is big, where you could get real food, some downtime. We had forward operating bases, which were mostly choppers would come in, take you out for your combat missions. And then, so I probably spent, I don't know, 100 hours on a helicopter at least, which is a trip. I mean, I love them. I wish I could buy one, but we would just chopper into some place. Hopefully it was a friendly LZ landing zone. And we just truck around. Well, when we got the orders to go to Vietnam, then we realized why, because the group I was assigned to primarily was one of the first groups to insert ourselves into Cambodia. And that was, I think I got into Cambodia April 24th, if my memory serves me right. And we were trying to cut off the flow of men and equipment coming into Vietnam, the North Vietnamese soldiers and stuff. That was probably one of the more trippy times of my experience in Vietnam, because we knew we were truly outnumbered, and we're actually, although Vietnam was a foreign place, we were truly in a foreign place. We didn't have that much, at least us, the ones on the ground, didn't have that much familiarity with what was going on. So I stayed there about, God, it seemed like a month. When I got there, I had this really strange premonition that I'd be okay. My biggest concern was how to come back mentally strong, not just physically. Because, you guys are awful young, but you may know some people or have talked to people or have seen on TV or whatever. A lot of people are pretty messed up. And that was the one thing that I was more concerned about, was how was I going to come back straight up and not sideways. And which leads me into my favorite part of this whole thing is, no matter what happens in life, get a boyfriend, first boyfriend, you break up, sucks. Your mom dies, your dad dies, your brother dies, your dog dies. Never be consumed by it. And I think that's unfortunately what happened to a lot of people. No matter what kind of experience you have over there, and you can't measure the degrees of severity. A dead person's a dead person, whether they're half of them's gone or not. It doesn't matter. If they're gone, they're gone. But you can't let that take over who you are. So no matter what happens in life, you can never lose that, because then you're going to morph into something that you may not like. And I know it's easier said than done, and I had the experience of Vietnam, which is going to toughen anybody up, but still, if you can always keep that in the back of your head, I think you'll be a better person for it. Do your mourning period, be sad, trash talk, whatever. Just don't be obsessed with it. Don't be consumed by it. Vietnam was probably the greatest emotional experience of my life. other than the bus ride to Pocatello. For some of you that may not know, we were on the death bus to Pocatello with this incredible female driver who actually got us locked in the bus, which you really can't do that. But, it was about incredible temperature changes. It'd be 120 during the day, 70 at night, which 70 is really nice, but when you do a 50-degree swing, it's cold. You sweat profusely. You don't wear a t-shirt. You don't wear boxers. I mean, that stuff just rots off you. So you give that stuff up. If you like bugs, go to Vietnam. Go anywhere in Southeast Asia. You'll be in paradise. I mean, they have bugs that I had no idea could even exist. Monsoons would come, it's just constant rain, just solid sheets of water. We had to deal with race issues, so it's not bad enough we're there for combat, but then we have to deal with our fellow soldiers who at times felt like it wasn't their place to be there, which is, it's better said. You can just go Google that and research it, but it made it more difficult. Drugs were everywhere. Top quality stuff, dirt cheap. We didn't care if you did, let's say, pot in the base camps, that's your business. But if we caught you doing it in the bush, we'd shoot you. You can't have you on guard duty going, "What's up, dude?" It just doesn't work because you could cost somebody their life. It was a very zero tolerance policy. And it's kind of surprising when you first get there, but I kind of liked it because, these guys, I was with a very good group. They had a very high kill ratio, which means we took more than they took of us. 14 months, and then when I left Vietnam, I left the Army. They had a gig going that if you had less than 150 days when you left Vietnam, then you could exit the Army. So I left Vietnam, 12 hours later, I was stateside, 12 hours later, I was a civilian. So it was kind of a nice gig. So I really liked Vietnam. In fact, Dave and I were talking about Mr. Teacher of the Year for everything. A beautiful country, beautiful people, great food. The China Sea, some of the best beaches I've ever been to. It was a little tweaked because we were in combat, but it really is. That whole part of the world is beautiful. I personally didn't feel like I was fighting for my country. I didn't have a problem with being there. It's not so much I felt sorry for the Vietnamese people, but they're a very pacifist group who just wanted to exist, and the militant North didn't want that to happen. So I'm not one of those fighting for a bigger, greater cause. It's just that I saw what we were doing had value. And everyone I met over there was really nice. It's great. So maybe someday we'll get to go over there and we'll take pictures.
We're going. We're planning a road trip.
We're gonna.
And they're going to Vietnam.
We're looking for 2 baggage handlers, so any volunteers.
Did you get to celebrate Vietnamese New Year or something like that?
No.
How important do you think it is to stay focused on kind of keeping yourself sane during?
Forget combat. It applies to everyday life. You got to keep the straight path in front of you. So, but in combat, it's life or death. You can make the difference of you being, a guy with 2 arms or 1 arm. Some of it's inevitable. Some of you don't have any control over. I don't care if you're the most focused person on the planet. If somebody tags you, you're it. But there's a lot of things you can do to avoid being tagged. So just, don't be stupid. Just pay attention. Can never assume anything. You treat each day like it's the first day. And that's how I went into combat. Every day was the first day.
You've said this many times that there was the worst time of your life and the greatest time of your life at the same time. How do you explain it?
The worst time of my life is obvious because it's combat. I mean, gee, you're seeing guys die, maimed. I mean, it's just nasty stuff. But there's nothing like it. I mean, it's the greatest emotional experience of my life. Other than meeting Dave. I mean, there's nothing like it. I mean, I don't care if you play sports or whatever. There's no adrenaline rush that can compare to being in combat for me. It's like supercharged 100 times over. It's like, I always used to tell these, it's like reaching up and touching the face of God and coming back alive. I mean, it's a trip. I have a lot of friends, my age group within 10 years that, I wish I'd have been there. And I said, no, you don't. You really don't. I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I tell them that there's no experience like it, but it's not an experience you want to experience. You really don't. Because you never know how it's going to turn out. It may not work out so good. It could suck.
Couple more questions, nice and loud. Who hasn't asked one?
Oh, go ahead.
When you were in Vietnam, kind of what was your guys' opinion of like the protesters in the U.S. and like all the anti-war movement things?
That was all part of my process. You know, I didn't hate them. I didn't blame them. I mean, that was their opinion. I mean, they're entitled to it. Ignorance is bliss. And so my thought was they were just very blissful. You know, they really didn't understand. But I appreciated the fact that they felt that way. I could understand it. But, and it's really a hard thing to relate, but I mean, if you could have been there and seen the plight of those people, it might have changed some minds. But no animosity ever. Never. In fact, we were talking about the last class. Joan Baez, country singer, my generation, forget you kids. She was in Idaho Falls, I think, doing a concert. And that's another thing I can't wrap my head around is I think it's part of my buffer to keep from getting overwhelmed by Vietnam. You see them around town, guys in vests and hats with all this crap on it, and I was in Timbuktu and served with the 5th. Anyway, they protested her. Really? It's 40 years ago, 45 years ago. Get over it. Geez, who cares what she said? Anyway, she went out and met with them. And they had signs up, baby killers, some crap. And even though I was in combat and I was a vet, I'd have gone after them. I mean, we're literally, I'd have told, the old fools to step off. I mean, just, come on, give it a rest. I understood. I think it didn't matter to me. Didn't affect me at all. So.
Thanks, Ed.